one morning in 2009, I haven't shared this before publicly, but the story, the details of the story. One morning on the 30th of October in 2009, the doorbell rang twice at 6:30 in the morning, and I thought I was dreaming, but all of a sudden I wasn't dreaming. I stepped out of bed because I heard some rumors in the house, and then I went out without my glasses, earplugs in my ear, looked out, and I heard my husband say, Friederike. He never calls me Friederike, he calls me Eule or by a nickname. He said, Friederike, hier ist die Polizei. Friederike, this is the police. And I looked and I saw figures standing on the stairs, and a guy came to me and said, may I read your rights? And this was the moment I realized they had caught us. And it was a minimum, like a hair of a second, that it made ping in my head, and my heart was beating there. I had no more feeling, and I was functioning, and I said, yes, what can I do for you? And I knew this was the moment of dissociation. Perfect. It was the beginning of trauma research on my own person. And then the usual thing happened. They searched through the whole house and separated my husband and me, and they took me into handcuffs and brought me to the police station. Then I was in custody for quite a while. Then I had this trial, and then a strange thing happened to me. I somehow managed this time. It was more than half a year between the arrest and the trial, and then in the trial I stood there, and all of a sudden I hear a voice saying to me in German, naturally, so maybe Hände an die Hosennaht. Can you translate this? Hände an die Hosennaht. Put your hands at the side. Yeah, put the hands at the seams of your trousers. And I knew it was my father. He passed away. He got killed when I was 5, and I had done a lot of trauma work on this to reconnect. So he was standing in the trial behind me, and I told me to be like a soldier and to so that was perfect. Naturally then, when the trial was over and I got this sentence that I hadn't go to prison, but 2 years on probation for 16 months of prison for dealing with LSD, then I sat in a concert. And it was Chopin, and I finally said, I relax, I'm free, and all of a sudden I see I'm out of body, looking into my cell where I am sitting, and then I knew I have to really deal with this issue. So the next fall I went to Brazil to drink ayahuasca, and ayahuasca is for me so difficult to drink that I all the time think I'm going to die. But in the initial round, I said, I want to exactly get this thing reversed of this whole trauma, and I want to work through the whole prison thing and so on. So the session starts, I drink, from me, quite an amount, and I notice that I'm fainting. So I call the guy and say, can I faint? And he says, yes, you can faint. So there I go, and I faint. And it got totally cold, and inside me, like a nuclear, this nuclear of life got cold too. And I went through sort of a tunnel, And then I stepped over a door thing, you know, where you step from one room to the other. And all of a sudden, I notice this is the room where the dead go before they enter the next step. And I was really for a moment, and then I see my father there, and he holds something in his hand and says to me, I give this back to you. I took care of it while you had lost it, and it was part of my soul. So he gave me this part of the soul back, and then this very moment I remembered that I had promised my husband not to die on the session. So then I said, I have to go back. So the guy that I had called, who allowed me to faint, happened to have his hand like this, our little fingers touched, and I felt the warmth and the life of his finger, and I breathed through the little, tried to breathe. I heard him talk to me, please breathe, 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 breathe. So I breathed over the little finger, connected with him, and finally the life got back into me. So then I was very thankful that I had my soul part back, but I still had a question to the plant. So I took a tiny little booster and asked if I could go back to my room to be alone for a moment. And then I asked the plant, I even knelt down and I said, please, now that I have my soul part back, give me the feeling, let me perceive the feeling that I had in that moment of the dissociation. I didn't get an answer, so I started, since I have worked with psychedelics myself as a therapist, I asked questioning myself, like digging, like the dentist that digs into the red thread. Where is the feeling of that moment? And I could not find any feeling. So after a while, the plant said to me, like my father did, stand up. So I stood up, and I looked out of the window at the sky, and the plant said to me, there are no feelings. In such a vivid moment, such a fast moment, there is no place for feelings. Dissociation doesn't have a feeling. There I was. So now, then, I thanked, and I was so thankful, and the session ended with me being like this in God's hands. And this was the overcoming of the trauma of the arrest. Thank you.